Do you want the good news or do you want the bad news? Don't you just love it when somebody comes to you with that question? I'm like, I don't know, man. Just give me the news. I think before I used to think, yeah, give me the good news first so that I can feel a little bit better and then hit me with the bad news. Now I think as I've kind of grown up, I'm mature, I'm continuing to learn. What you think might be bad news, I might think differently. I might not actually see it as bad news. I might see it as a challenge or an opportunity. And that's kind of what we want to dive into today is sometimes when we receive bad news or things like that, it can create stress. It can either be perceived by us as either being an opportunity or as a threat. And each of those have different reactions. Our body has different reactions when we see things as an opportunity or a threat. I know maybe some of you are thinking this and you're totally right. You can't fix everything with positive thinking. You can't look at every situation and just be like, be more positive and everything will work out. It's not the answer, but shifting perspective on things can make a significant difference to who we become as we go through a process of learning, go through a process of growing. I heard this quote recently. It says, we're really good at looking back and recognizing how much we've changed as we've gone through a stressful time period or gone through a situation. But what you're not really good at and what we're not really good at as people is being in the midst of a stressful situation or in the beginning of something and seeing how much it's going to potentially change us. So while we're kind of in the muck and the mire, we're not very good at predicting, wow, I'm going to become a lot stronger in this area, or I'm going to gain a lot of wisdom in this space in my life because I'm going through this particularly stressful time. But we're really good at looking back and recognizing that. So it kind of tells me that if we can keep that in mind when we're walking through sort of the muck and the mire and the challenges that we face maybe on a daily basis, then that can help us to sort of lift ourselves up out of those moments, maybe not get as stuck and be able to shift some perspective and come through it a little bit stronger, come through it a little wiser. Now, I think it's important that we address this right away. There is good and bad stress. And when I think about bad stress, I was reading some different articles online and they talked about bad stress being what they called chronic stress. So it sort of breaks you down physically, it can break you down emotionally, spiritually. Chronic stress is not good for your overall health. If that's something you're walking through, I'd encourage you today to seek out, professional psychologist or counselor to help you walk through that. Having someone that's professionally trained to help you walk through that is such a game changer because, I could be there for you and be able to listen to what you're walking through, but that's really about as far as I can go. I can be a listening ear, I can be supportive, but when you're properly trained as a counselor or a psychologist, and the people that are, and I've got people in my life that are, it's like they've got more of a roadmap so they can give you a better perspective in how to walk through it. So what about good stress? Is that actually even a thing? I think our culture today often paints stress as just stress equals bad. We paint this thing where we're like, we just want to have a stress-free lifestyle. And I'm going, I don't know. Do we? Do you really not want to be challenged at all? And that's really our first strategy. When you pause and you look at a stressful situation or something you're walking through, you want to be able to kind of look at it and go, is this an opportunity? Is this a challenge? Or is this a threat? And when we see things as an opportunity, we sort of have this natural tendency inside of us that we're going to rise up. We rise to the occasion, right? You want to rise up and meet the challenge and go through it, become stronger. But when we see something as a threat, then our body sort of hunkers down and kind of goes into that mode of, I got to protect myself, protect my family, protect whatever it is that you're trying to protect. And it actually has a real negative effect on your physical health, mental health, emotional health, especially over long periods of time if you see every stressor as a threat. And so when I say at the beginning, do you want the good news or the bad news? And I'm saying, well, I'd actually prefer the bad news because I'm looking at it going, okay, so where's the opportunity in this? Where's the challenge in this? Where's the opportunity for me to learn or maybe even help this person because they think it's a bad situation and maybe I can help us both walk through it. It's not always going to be that way, but if I can at least pause and not just allow it to be an immediate negative stress, an immediate threat onto my being or to who I am as a person, then I've got at least that moment of opportunity, and that's what you want so that you can be able to just maintain capacity, maintain your physical stamina, maintain strength to be able to move forward. Another strategy that you can use from time to time when you're in a stressful situation is, again, to pause and ask yourself the question, compared to what? Okay, so this is stressful, a stressful time, a stressful situation. You're walking through something stressful, but compared to what? Compared to not having that opportunity, compared to not being challenged in this way, what would life look like with or without that particular stressor? I think of situations where it's stressful. Going for a job interview is a great example. There's a lot of pressure. Maybe you really need the job, but if you're seeing that as a threat, well, compared to the alternative of not having an interview, I'd prefer to have the stress or the challenge of the interview rather than not having the opportunity. If I wasn't walking through this particular challenge or stress, what other things might I be facing? Then I maybe would have no job. And that would be much more detrimental, much maybe more threatening to my family, my health, my future, my relationships, those types of things. So just pause and ask yourself that question, compared to what? I'm walking through this, but compared to what alternative? A final strategy that I have for when you're facing stressful situations or walking through stressful situations is to look at the situation and hopefully be able to recognize that you're probably contributing to something that's bigger than you. And sometimes when I'm facing a stressful situation, you might have lost track of or lost sight of the larger goal. So I know that there can be stressful situations that you walk through when you're working towards God's will and purpose in your life. It's going to stretch you. It's going to pull you. It's going to ask you to learn and to grow, right? And that can create stress, but it's different because it's stressful opportunity, stressful challenge, because you're working towards something that's so much bigger than just you. And as long as we can sort of step back for a moment and keep that perspective that when we're working on something larger than us, we're willing to go through more challenging times. We're willing to go through more challenges, more opportunities, and we don't have to perceive them as threats. So you're always a part of something that's bigger than you. You're part of supporting your family, part of supporting your children, your spouse. When we can keep that focus, when we can keep that in mind, it's going to give us the fuel and energy that we need to walk through it. When we have that, then it increases our capacity. And then as our capacity increases, it increases our opportunity to be able to take on more challenges, to be able to come across more stressful situations that are going to continue to allow us to grow. So the next time that someone comes to you with that awesome phrase, do you want the good news or do you want the bad news? You can confidently say, I want both, because you can pause and recognize that even if it's bad news that creates stress, you can pause and say, I can see and look for the opportunity, look for the challenge in this, because it's going to be part of something bigger, right? Something that you're supporting. So I hope you're able to take those tools, put them in your toolbox, be able to use them as you walk through different stressful situations, because those aren't going away. I hope you have an absolutely awesome rest of your day. Next week, we're going to talk about this idea of being anti-fragile. Is anti-fragile even a word? It is, and we're going to dive into it next week. Have an absolutely awesome rest of your week. I look forward to sharing with you then. Talk to you soon.